Okay. We are going to take the derivative of the absolute value of x using the chain rule. So this is something that's not typically taught in the Calculus 1 curriculum or an AP Calculus AB curriculum, but it's still really cool to think about. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to rewrite the absolute value of x as the square root of x squared. Now, why is the absolute value of x equal to the square root of x squared? Well, just think about it. If x is positive, like 2, then the absolute value of 2, right, it's not going to change it. It's just going to be 2. And similarly, if we look at the square root of 2 squared, that's also just going to be 2. Now, what about if x is negative? So think about it, like the absolute value of negative 2 is just 2. And similarly, the square root of negative 2 squared is going to be the square root of 4, which is also just 2. So it's kind of because we're squaring it first and then taking the square root, it's going to take a negative number and take the absolute value of it. That's why the absolute value of x is equal to the square root of x squared. This is a very important fact. Okay, so now that we've rewritten it, we're almost ready to take the derivative. But whenever we're taking derivatives, we don't like that little square root symbol. Instead, we prefer to write this as x squared to the 1/2 power. So we can apply the power rule. Okay? So now that it's in this form, we can take the derivative. So we're going to bring down the 1/2. So now we're taking the derivative. So this is f prime of x. So we're going to bring down the 1/2. And we're going to subtract 1 from the exponent. So 1/2 minus 1 is negative 1/2. But then, by the chain rule, we have to multiply by the derivative of the inside, by the derivative of x squared. So we're going to have to multiply by 2x. Okay, and now this is our derivative right here. So now it's just a matter of simplification. So what can we do? So we have a 1/2 here and a 2 here. So those are going to cancel out. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. So we're left with x times x squared to the negative 1/2. Okay? Now we're almost done. So x squared to the negative 1/2, right? Remember how negative exponents work. The way we do negative exponents is we can say that that is x times 1 over x squared to the positive 1/2. Okay, and now we have the product of two fractions. We can just multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So this is x over x squared to the positive 1/2. And finally, remember, our very first thing we did is we said that the absolute value of x is equal to the square root of x squared. Right, so that denominator is the square root of x squared. That's just the absolute value of x. And that